Okay, we got the Warcraft news over the last few days. Brand new class changes that are surely going to make some of you happy. Even more changes and updates to professions like alchemy. Major discussions on topics such as raiding and new lore inside a Season of Discovery, and so much more. My name is Sky from the Comeback Kids. This is your Season of Discovery news. Grab a cup of coffee, sit down. We got a lot to discuss today. By the way, if you're interested in leveling up efficiently and finding your runes quickly and painlessly as possible, check out in the description below our Rested XP link. Not only by doing this, you support the channel, but you gain direct benefits as well. It's literally the best guide out there for World of Warcraft. I promise, won't be disappointed. Okay, diving right into the good stuff. Of course, as we start heading into Phase 3 deeper and deeper, the developers stated that they were going to be, making class changes consistently to keep everything level-headed in the community, feeling good heading into the final phase of Season of Discovery, which is Phase 4. Now, I don't know about the consistent part, but we did see some changes. Agron posted on Twitter the other day that the first round of changes for Phase 3 are officially rolling in, and that they probably will not be majorly buffing or nerfing things for a little while. They sternly stated that there's more to life than Warcraft Logs Graph, and we plan to be a lot more deliberate with changes in this fade to avoid whiplash. Now, I do think having class changes every single week and monitoring all of this every week could be exhausting as a developer, and in my opinion, I don't really think it's needed to that extent, and I would rather them take their time on sort of lining up the shot and just generally fixing what needs to be fixed within classes over a nice big bulk. Because there are a lot of runes and spells out there that are broken or just simply not working as intended, which should really, be addressed or fixed over time. So hopefully they take that time and invest it on things like that rather than minor changes heading into the last phase. Either way, though, I think it's impossible to meet the expectations of all Warcraft players out there because no matter what you do, there are always going to be players who are just simply never pleased. Give someone a free car, they're going to be mad about the color of that car. Anyways, moving on, they did state that these class tuning is going to be coming on April 16th, which is in just a couple of days, and adjusting some of the rune slots as well as class abilities, which is interesting. Moving on to Druid now, with Balance getting some adjustments on their Star Surge interaction with clear casting, which is going to help them with a lot considering that it felt pretty bad spending your free spell cast on a very cheap Star Surge ability, so they cleaned that up, and then they pretty much just went haywire on bear tanks. They moved the Skull Bash rune to the hand slot, and they swapped it over with the much needed change that was the Lacerate rune, which is now finally moved to the leg slot, which was previously on the hands. This is a very, very big change here. Bear tanks have been asking for this over 3 phases, and they finally got it done. So this is a major, major W. Not only that, it also saw some threat increases as well, which is always good. Big, big W for bear tanks out there. Now, Rogues got some adjustments as well to their Focus Attack rune, buffing up the energy regeneration, which is cool, I guess. And Shamans actually saw some nerfs to the internal cooldown for their very overpowered and popular Overcharged rune that would deal damage to all enemies around them, which was just absolutely broken, and it had to get adjusted. So instead of it being on a 1-second internal cooldown, it has been increased to 3 seconds. Either way, it's still a very strong rune no matter the way you look at it. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this changes the Shaman tank and, dungeons, AoE farming, stuff like that. There was at one point that this rune by itself was dealing thousands of DPS on its own if you pulled enough mobs, which was just absolutely broken. Had to get changed, so that's really good. Additionally, Warlock saw a ton of love, which is really surprising, with Life Tap now granting mana to you and your pet as well, which is always a good thing, and your Unstable Afflictions damage has actually been increased by roughly 120%, which is a very big buff, and I'm hoping that we can start seeing some Affliction locks out there because they seem to be a little bit non-existent at this point. And now the Master Demonologist talent will also work on your Felguard as well, which is cool. Interaction also helping out warriors for their solo gameplay. Victory Rush actually saw some buffs as well to where it now heals you for 30% of your total health, increasing from 10%, which is going to be phenomenal for leveling as well as just general solo gameplay, and should make their leveling process pretty much trivial at this point considering how much damage they can deal once they get a decent weapon. So 30% heal after every kill. You should be good to go. Now, personally, I would like to see some adjustments to Restoration Shamans, though, as they are by far the worst spec in the entire game out of tank, healer, DPS, so hopefully it gets some slight adjustments in the future, whether it comes to, rune placements or just some number tuning. That class is in desperate need of help. But yeah, those are the class changes. Remember, they did state they're going to be more diligent with this and not making changes constantly throughout the phase, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I just hope they take their time, look over some data, for a while before making a nice chunk of class changes in just a few weeks' time. Some more stuff on professions, though. We saw last episode that engineering got some additions to be able to use goblin and gnomish engineering at the same time, which is great. And now it looks like we're going to be seeing the same thing for alchemists out there, because now alchemists can become both masters of transmutation as well as masters of mixology. There might be some of you out there being like, what the hell does any of that even mean? Why would I care? So let me quickly explain it. For alchemy, transmuting something is changing one material into something else. For example, you transmute iron to gold, or you transmute undead to water. And mixology is pretty much just giving you the extra chance to craft additional potions whenever you create one. But not only that, you can acquire both of these at the same time now in a brand new quest line in the steamed Weedle port in Tanaris. So it was actually shown on Wowhead that Master of Mixology grants about roughly 30-ish bonus yield for crafting potions and stuff, while Master of Transmutation, like always, is a big hit or miss. You either get one, or sometimes you get up to a bonus of 4 times, which was recorded recently, which is insane. For example, you could transmute arcane crystals into arcanite bars, which is going to be huge next phase for crafting your legendaries and stuff, and you could potentially get 4 times proc, generating anywhere between like 150, 250 gold instantly, if you're lucky. So overall, alchemists are eating very well. Something that goes hand in hand with alchemy is actually herbalism, which you actually might not need if you need to acquire the Exalted Reputation reward from the Emerald Wardens called the Nightmare Resonance Crystal. Well, that was actually for about a day, because yes, for a while now, it seemed that acquiring this very difficult, hard, and rare trinket was super worth it, allowing you as a player to pick herbs inside of the incursion that would net you a ton of gold and benefit you greatly. You'd be able to get Mountain Silver Sage, Nightmare Seeds, which is, all of this is very crucial for crafting materials for Phase 3, and it's worth a ton of gold. Not only that, you could have gotten rare items as well. The sad thing is that players are reporting that the Exalted reward got heavily nerfed very quickly and is now spawning these herbs at their selected locations pretty much like once every few hours, leaving players very upset and frustrated that they spent, 75 tokens on this item. Now, I could see how something like this can get really out of hand quickly, because these waypoints previously, they were on like a 5-ish minute cooldown, just generating a ton of gold. But when I mean I've seen hundreds of comments talking about how bad this item is now, that just seems like it's way too much of a nerf in my opinion. I'm seeing it all over Reddit, the forums, my comment section. Not only that, I was kind of hoping for some additional reputation rewards at the Exalted rank, considering like how much time it takes to get there. Like maybe a mount, a tabard, a pet, or potentially just some crafting recipes out there for each profession. Some additional ways to enjoy World of Warcraft, like professions, cosmetics, enhancements. So hopefully they either add that this phase or take notes, learn from it, heading into the final phase. Now, when it comes to other controversial things in the community right now, so far in Phase 3, we saw something never before seen in Sunken Temple Raid at its first initial encounter. It was actually never cleared by any of the gears, going over about 24 hours at the time. Then slowly following that, within less than a week, they went on to nerf it roughly 4 times straight, leaving some community members with uncertain curiosity about what the future of Season of Discovery can hold moving forward. A user directed a tweet over toward Agrind on Twitter asking, what kind of difficulty do you plan to aim for future Season of Discovery raids? Sunken Temple initially looked like it might take some gear progression for the average guild, but it was nerfed multiple times. Is this just because it isn't level 60? Pretty much just stating that it was difficult at first, then you nerfed it to all hell. What was the intention behind something like that? So Agrind actually gave a really, really detailed response stating that the goal for Season of Discovery is for semi-casual guilds to down the raids, especially these level up raids. Season of Discovery isn't heroic level challenge, but that isn't to say there won't ever be anything in SOD that's hard, but we just don't believe that raiding should be hard in this version of Classic WoW. Notice how he didn't say Classic Plus there, which was interesting, so keep that down. He also went on to state that there are many different versions of World of Warcraft that have very difficult content, and Gnomergon and Sunken Temple are vastly more challenging and require way more coordination than even original World of Warcraft. We don't want to make raids a brick wall for the average Joe, and that isn't the approach we're likely going to take. After several years of watching data around classic player behavior, we don't believe that difficult raid content is what players actually want. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not, it's very straightforward what's happening here. You have to understand, Season of Discovery, in a straight put way, is a seasonal realm where phases are on a temporary timer, and they don't want people to struggle with this content and miss lockouts, because the truth of the matter is that according to raw data, No one actually gives a shit about struggling in a raiding environment when it comes to player retention. When things get too hard, people just simply don't play, they quit, and they get bored. At the end of the day, though, the developers want us to kill these bosses. They have the intention for us to down these raids. I like to think of MMO developers in a way as like dungeon masters in Dungeons & Dragons. No matter what, as a DM, you know, you have to have a scenario where a certain boss is defeated just in case it actually happens. And there are certain parts where your story can continue based upon that happening. It's the same thing with MMOs. They design these creatures to be defeated for you to get the loot and have fun. Of course, it's always fun to have challenge and difficulty involved, but Season of Discovery is simply not going to be that. They made that very clear. If you're asking me personally, I love challenge. I love difficulty in a raiding environment with all my friends and my guildies. And that's why I really enjoy things like Heroic or even Mythic Plus raiding inside of Retail WoW. And that's why optional raids like that, you know, even existed to cater to the people who are to that 1% and that love to take it to the absolute extreme. Hagrid was even asked about Old War, you know, like hard style modes for extra loot coming to Season of Discovery to cater to that 1%. But because of the time frame they're just working with, they don't have time. It's not possible. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting an entire phase of almost never before seen content within a 2-month period. We're talking brand new spells, quest lines, new crafting recipes, gear, dungeon and raid boss mechanics, all within an 8 to 10 week period. Think about that. That's a lot of work to do in 8 to 10 weeks. And then there are some people out there who are upset if something's messed up on release or isn't perfect. I mean, if we're talking about a straight up classic MMORPG discussion, having something that's difficult that hasn't been cleared yet is definitely cool, and it's always something to chase as a player, and it's incredible to have. But Season of Discovery is a seasonal realm, and constantly in my comment section and on the forums, people agree that it's better for the raid to be more clearable and challenging in the phase, you know, that last 8 to 10 weeks. And by that metric, I do have to agree. Now, you never know, though, when the level 60 phase comes out, and there might be some encounters that are a lot more difficult because we have, you know, endless amount of time potentially in that phase unless they advance it or do something crazy. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the nearby future with challenge and difficulty in Season of Discovery. Now, we also have some very interesting lore tidbits to go over in Season of Discovery, starting off with Xal'atath once again coming back in Phase 3, which is always very exciting news. On a broader news standpoint, though, what you're seeing on screen now is actually a photo of Xal'atath being data mined for the upcoming retail expansion, The War Within. And seeing her in this form honestly gave me chills because she looks badass compared to what we're used to seeing in Season of Discovery with her basic Shadow Void form. But yeah, she is back in Phase 3, and it seems that she is cooking up even more big plans. So of course, on our quest line to achieve our epic crafted gear, we are encountered with a problem that is pretty much impossible to deal with, and once again, she comes to save the day at the end. She went to speak to us about Ziri Little Sprocket, which is one of the characters we spoke to about receiving our epic headpiece last phase, and then she spoke about those, you know, void-empowered bracers that someone found and repaired for her. But if you remember previously from last phase, we spoke to Ziri, and she didn't really have any remembrance of us even doing any of this with her, which definitely leads us to believe that there's some sort of like trickery going on here to make all this even happen. So Ziri has no memory of us bringing her this G7 core, which means that she was either mind controlled, being influenced, had her memories wiped, or even maybe someone even impersonated and disguised as the gnome to trick us. I don't know. That's going to be interesting to talk about. Either way, those new set of void-powered bracers are also able to impart a portion of Xal'atath's willpower onto the user, which seems like some bad juju, if you ask me. It never seems like a good deal. The kicker is that the last person that used these bracers has been lost by their, you know, the previous owner, and the shadowy figure tells us that in order to help us, we need to go get the bracers, bring it back to her. So then when we finally do track down the adventurer, we talk to him and he explains you the situation. Pretty much that he was beaten by a tiny murloc, which seems a little bit hard to believe. Maybe he lost to this creature because he was influenced by the void or something bigger was at play controlling his mind here. I'm not really too sure. So we finally bring back the bracers to Xal'atath. She tells us that in order for her to help us, we need a small item that is of great interest to her on the creature's corpse that we're going to go kill. Of course, there's a price to pay with Xal'atath and, you know, getting all this power. And it seems that she wanted a fragment of a dream hiding within the mantle. Then she gave us the shoulder mantle to keep for ourselves to increase our power, which then led us to craft our epic, you know, crafted shoulders. So when we first met Xal'atath in Phase 1, she convinced us to accept some knowledge from her on how to use the Shard of the Void to craft our epic gear, and then she left a permanent mark on us inside of Phase 1. Then in Phase 2, the shadowy figure arrived just in time to help us and provide us with a mote of darkness that we needed to charge up the Void Core for Ziri in Phase 2. And then she made it clear that we owe her a favor, which now in Phase 3, I'm hoping this is us clearing our debt with her by bringing her that fragment of the dream hiding within the nightmare. So all this very interesting little tidbits, especially since in retail WoW, for a while there was a whole, Emerald Dream patch that went down, and Xal'atath has had major influence on everything going on there with the story heading into the future expansions about how she's a major character, big roles to play, yada yada yada, in the brand new saga coming up. All this is very cool stuff. I personally love the interaction between retail and Season of Discovery with this character, and I'm very excited to see how this finally concludes and reaches its sort of climax, heading into level 60 as well as for the War Within dropping later this year also. Other than that, it really seems like World of Warcraft is just pumping lately, man. We've had Season of Discovery that's doing well, Cataclysm coming out in a month, the World Soul Saga coming out for retail WoW, which is set to be 3 expansions over the next few years. Plunderstorm, which is a brand new mode that no one even saw coming. And then something very interesting on the horizon is actually the brand new announced World of Warcraft remix for Mist of Pandaria, which is just a brand new game mode that leaves me wondering what the hell is going on over there at Blizzard right now. It's actually going to be a version of World of Warcraft that's game client is set within retail WoW, where pretty much it's Season of Discovery, Mist of Pandaria. But the kicker is that your character can actually be carried over in progression to head toward the War Within when it comes out, and you can be all caught up and stuff. Pretty much being like a perfect segue for Classic to Mist of Pandaria to retail WoW, bringing them all into one, which is freaking crazy. So you got this brand new character, you're leveling up from level 10 to 70, and you'll do raids just like Season of Discovery. As you're leveling up, you'll do dungeon content, and it's also very, very difficult from the footage I've seen over this beta testing weekend. But nevertheless, it's just really exciting to see Blizzard take some risk and do stuff that is brand new to try to bring players back into playing World of Warcraft again, man. And I'm just really curious, are any of you guys going to be trying out World of Warcraft Mist of Pandaria Remix? I think it's pretty cool, and I have to at least try it out, because there's some exclusive cosmetics and stuff that you can earn for World of Warcraft account that's been gone in the game, over the last 10 years at this point, all those challenge mode items and stuff. So it's going to be really interesting to see, in my opinion. By the way, don't forget to leave comments about Phase 3 so far and the future of Season of Discovery so we can discuss it in these news videos like we're about to do right now. First up, we have Vegeta saying how they agree about difficulty being fun in a raiding environment, except for that these phases only last 2 months long, and that difficulty reduces the reason to complete the raids. Why struggle if you'll never get loot in time before the phase even ends? Which I do have to agree. At times, I do tend to see myself as someone who focuses on challenge rather than looking at the bigger picture of everything and taking a step back and just soaking it in. It is super important to know and remember that Season of Discovery is its brand new own thing inside of World of Warcraft. This isn't Classic Plus. This isn't Retail WoW. This isn't Classic. It's Season of Discovery, World of Warcraft. It's kind of like WoW's greatest hits and a way for these developers to just throw darts at a dartboard and see what sticks and see what people really enjoy when it comes to a content perspective. I truly believe in my heart of hearts still that Classic Plus is going to be something that comes out on its own sometime maybe next year after all this is said and done and retail WoW is settled in and stuff like that. And just like Blizzard always does though, they're going to amplify it times 10 and just knock it out of the park, Season of Discovery is its own thing. I like to think of it almost like an arcade mode for World of Warcraft because it's simply just jumping in, having a bunch of fun, and I'm so happy with it either way, no matter what happens. Moon's Tier brought up the idea of maybe new tabards coming in Season of Discovery for Emerald Wardens and maybe a Waylaid Supply reputation as well, and I gotta agree, I think the Exalted reputation rewards are a little bit lacking in my opinion. Once again, I don't think it's always, needs to be about character power and getting bis and all that, and epic gear, even though that's obviously one of the most impactful things on a person, but what about just basic things like crafting recipes, cosmetics, pets, tabards, mounts, things of that nature? I mean, if I was developing this seasonal realm that might not even be permanent, I would flood the shit out of all of it with cosmetics and tabards and pets and mounts and stuff. I wouldn't do anything like transmog. I think that's too much, but I would just flood it at that point. Why not? Then lastly, we had a major comment from Talk David saying that one way to solve Restoration Shaman's healing issues would be to make Healing Rage stronger and to make Earth Shield way better so that it can compete with Shamanistic Rage as their same rune slot. Yeah, I'm going to be honest here, man. I think the absolute worst spec in the game out of like 35 of them, or however many at this point they have, hands down has to be the Resto Shaman. It is so bad. It has all this mana to keep casting spells, but it's just simply not enough to compete with all the other raw healing of all the other classes out there. So I'm really hoping they shift around some runes for this class in particular and make some adjustments, because it's tough to watch, man. It's tough. All my Resto Shaman friends are DMing me saying that it sucks, it doesn't feel good, and they've been playing it since the beginning, so it's really interesting. Additionally, before we wrap up this episode, I'm going to be doing a hardcore run inside of Season of Discovery with the community, just to sort of have some fun on a brand new PvE realm, you know, making brand new characters and just running through all the dungeons, the raids, and I just feel like it'd be a lot of fun to do that with the community because, you know, you have the experience boost, so it wouldn't be that punishing if you die. I think it'd be a great way to play with you all, make new friends, just have some fun on the weekends rather than just trying to focus on parsing and all that BS. So if you guys are interested in something like that, let me hear about it in the comment section below. If you actually would play with me or with the community in a guild, I will very easily push it forward, set a date, and set something up within the next week or two to play with you all. Once again, I just want to thank you all so much for watching these videos. If you're here at the end, truly, you have to understand, you have no idea how much of a pleasure it is to wake up and bust my butt to make videos for you all, or content, or that whole deal. It is an absolute dream come true. I've been doing this for many years. I just recently got my own car. I just moved into my own place. All that thanks to you guys. And I get emotional talking about it a little bit, and I couldn't thank you enough. It's an absolute blessing to do this, really. Thank you. We're on our way to 100K subs this year, and we have so much content coming for you all soon about all RPGs, you know, in the nearby future. So keep grabbing that cup of coffee, man. I promise we're here to stay for a while. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like and subscribe to get absolutely flooded with Season of Discovery content. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. It's always an absolute pleasure to be making content for you all. Until the very end, my name is Sky from the Comeback Kids. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.